All right, boys and girls. Today we are going to be talking about informative writing or informational writing. I created this PowerPoint so that we can kind of review what it is about and then do a little practicing. And so for the next few weeks, we're going to do some practicing and then eventually work our way up to writing our own essay. So let's go ahead and start. Okay, so what is informative writing? Informative writing, it's just the way it sounds, it informs the reader. It's going to provide the reader with information. Informative writing also answers why or how. It is organized around an idea or a topic. It is factually explains something. So that's important to recognize. It's not your opinion. It's not what you think or what you believe, but it's based off of facts and evidence. And then informational writing can also be known as expository writing. So if you hear somebody's talking about that, then they're the same. Okay, so I'm going to send this PowerPoint to you and to your family. So I want you to watch this little video. It just kind of goes over what we just discussed. If I play it on here, you won't be able to hear the sound. So again, when I send this PowerPoint, go ahead and watch this short video. It's very short. It's like 1 minute and 30 seconds. All right, so how do I structure my informational writing? So this is what it's going to look like when we actually start writing. You're going to have a main topic, okay? Something that you're going to decide to write about. And then in here, you have the grabber, so that's like the hook. So you want to start it out with something really interesting, maybe a quote, maybe a funny fact, something that's going to grab the reader's attention. So that's the introduction paragraph that kind of lets the reader know what your essay will be about. And then these are additional paragraphs. So for each idea, you have, that will be a paragraph. So you have paragraph 1, so idea 1 with details, idea 2 with details, idea 3 with details. So you have 1 paragraph, 3 more is 4 total, and then your concluding paragraph. So when you're going to sum it all up. Okay, so some examples of informational text that I'm sure you're all familiar with. Biographies, news articles, research reports, and autobiographies. Those are all examples of informational text. Okay, so how do you get started? Well, we're going to do a lot of this together. So these are some of the steps we're going to go over. It's a good idea to read some examples of informational essays, which we're going to do. Also choosing a topic and a person, or I'm sorry, a purpose, excuse me. It's also important to decide on the structure, which we're going to talk more about. Then you have to research, you have to collect information. And this is a big one because you want to make sure that you collect information from more than one source. So if you're writing about elephants, you don't want to get the information just from one article or one book. You want to get more than one and to make your information more well-rounded. We're going to talk about how to write in a formal format. So you don't want to say yo or LOL. You know, it's formal. It's like an essay. And then we're going to talk about how we write an essay that has an introduction, that includes a hook and a thesis statement. Then you'll have additional paragraphs. You'll conclude the essay, and then you'll do some revision. That's where you go in and you make any changes, maybe move some words around to make it sound better. Then you have a friend or a parent look at it as well. And then you edit. You check for spelling errors. So we're not going to do all that today. We're just going to get started. Okay, so here, when I mentioned structure, so here are some different examples of ways to organize your information in informational writing. So the first is sequencing. This is when you put things in order of how they happen, chronological order. So if it's dates, you want to start with the earliest date and work your way to the most recent. If you're telling how to do something, you want to start with what you have to do first, second, last, okay? Those are also sequencing. So, for example, if you're writing about somebody's life, you probably want to use sequencing to organize your information. Okay, description. The author defines or describes a topic by including characteristics and examples. Compare and contrast. That's when the author explains how things are alike and different. So, for instance, if you're talking about animals that are house trained, you can talk about cats and dogs. Well, they're going to be pretty different, and they are going to have some similarities. So you can use compare and contrast. Problem and solution. It's where the author presents a problem and then offers solutions for it. And then cause and effect. It's when it explains the cause of event or situation and then the effects from that result. So we're going to focus just on one today, and then we'll work our way through the rest of these each week. All right, so what I want you guys to do is you can pause my video. I want you to read this passage about the life cycle of a butterfly. And then on the next slide, I want you to answer these questions, okay? I want you to answer these the best that you can, and then we will come back and answer them together. So go ahead and pause it, refer to the PowerPoint that I'm going to attach in an email so you can read this and then also look at the questions as you're reading, and then we will come back as soon as you're done. Okay, hopefully you've had time to read this passage and then answer the following questions on the next slide. So let's go ahead and look at these questions. The first question is, what is the topic of the essay? So this is what the whole thing is about. So what is the topic? So hopefully you guys wrote the life cycle of a butterfly. That is what this whole essay is about. Number 2, what is the purpose of the essay? And this is the main idea. So this is a little tricky, but the purpose of this essay is to let the reader know the whole process of metamorphosis and what stages the butterfly goes through. So this is what it is mostly about. So the topic is broad, right? It's kind of bigger, and then the main idea is a little bit smaller. It kind of is more specific. So when you're having to distinguish the difference between a topic, life cycle of a butterfly, and then the main idea, metamorphosis. So it's kind of broad to narrow. All right, number 3, look at the first sentence. How has the writer decided to begin this essay? So if you look back, first sentence, you can see the writer began with a quote, "Happiness is a butterfly," wrote Nathaniel Hawthorne. So that was a way that he grabbed the reader by adding in that quote. All right, which sentence in the first paragraph tells the reader exactly what the essay is going to be about? And this is the thesis statement. This lets the reader know and tells the reader that this is what the essay is about. And every essay has a thesis statement, and that's how we know exactly what we're reading for. So if you look back here, the first paragraph, "Happiness is a butterfly," wrote Nathaniel Hawthorne. Most people would agree that it is wonderful watching a caterpillar turn into a beautiful butterfly. To grow into an adult, a butterfly goes through 4 stages called metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is a Greek word that means transformation or change in shape. So, which sentence? The third one. To grow into adult, a butterfly goes through 4 stages called metamorphosis. This is what our essay is about. This is the thesis statement. It lets us know. And it kind of is a clue with the title as well. Okay, so how many body paragraphs are in this essay? So we're going to look. Remember, this is our introduction. The first paragraph is always the intro. The last paragraph is the conclusion. So the ones in the middle are going to be the body. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is each paragraph talks about each of the different stages. So there are 4 body paragraphs. And it says, why has the writer included this number of body paragraphs? And I just answered it for you. It's because the life cycle of a butterfly has 4 stages. So each paragraph is giving information about each specific stage. Okay, so how are those paragraphs organized? So think back to that slide where we talked about how to organize. And so let's kind of go back. So these are our ways to organize your writing. And so the author did it in sequential order, sequencing. They started at the very beginning of the caterpillar's a tiny egg, all the way through the caterpillar becoming a butterfly. So the way this was structured was through sequence. Okay, which keywords tell you that the text is organized this way? So the keywords: first, second, third, finally. That lets us know that this is going in order and it's sequencing. Okay, number 9, what type of information does the writer use to develop each body paragraph? So each paragraph in the body is talking about the stage, right? The specific stage. And so the author is using details and describing each individual stage of metamorphosis. And then number 10, what's the purpose of the concluding paragraph? So really the purpose is to kind of sum it all up, to restate the thesis statement, and just kind of bring it all together in closing. Okay? Alright, so now this is where you guys get to practice. Here are some sequencing prompts. I want you to try to write at least a paragraph. So guys, a paragraph is 4 to 5 sentences, not 3, 4 to 5. And I want you to try to write it using sequencing. So remember we talked about those keywords: first, second, third, finally, last, next. Those are all sequencing words. So with these prompts, on another sheet of paper, you are going to answer these prompts. So the first one, an older relative wants to play your favorite video game but has never played video games before. How do you explain how to play? So you're going to use sequencing and write a paragraph. Don't worry about thesis statements or anything like that right now. We're just practicing sequencing. So this is your homework. You're going to write these 3 prompts, 4 to 5 sentences for each prompt, and then you either need to take a screenshot of it for me or type it up in an email or a Word document and send it to me. Okay, so that is all I have for this first lesson in informational writing, and we'll be back next week with the next stage. Okay, talk to you guys later.